The French government announced new COVID measures on Monday evening after a record 100,000 cases were recorded on Christmas Day, the highest daily figure in the country since the pandemic began. Proof of vaccination will be necessary to enter restaurants, bars, cinemas and other public venues from January 15th. While the wait time between the second vaccine and the booster shot has also been reduced to just 3 months. New restrictions to tackle a rise in coronavirus infections will come into force across large parts of Germany on December 28th. Vaccinated people can meet privately in groups of 10, while the unvaccinated can only meet in pairs. Reactions to the new measures are mixed. This Berliner says, "I find that the arrangements make sense and I have adapted to them. I find that they work well. I don't see any major restrictions in my private life, so to speak." While another said the rules are very different. It would be better if they were the same for all German states. Meanwhile, across the border in Austria, where a lockdown for the unvaccinated is still in place, the hospitality sector will be required to stop service at 10 p.m. This will affect New Year's Eve events and will come as a blow for many business owners. This local cafe owner says an earlier closing time always means less business. It's getting harder and harder. While Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland have put limits on social gatherings in time for New Year's Eve, 10 Downing Street says no new steps will be taken in England before the new year. Prime Minister Boris Johnson has instead emphasised the importance of personal responsibility. And in Portugal, where COVID tests are mandatory for travellers before departing for most destinations, hundreds of people, either transiting or trying to return home, were refused boarding at Lisbon Airport amid a COVID test shortage.
With more on the raft of new restrictions in France, I'm now joined by our international correspondent, Annelise Bourges. Annelise, next week is going to look very different for the French. What has the reaction been?
Well, the French had been expecting a tightening of restrictions, and in fact, many here anticipated even harsher measures. So there's a sense of relief that restaurants, bars and cafes will remain open for now. Many people talking about their New Year's plans and saying that they can still go and meet with friends. Of course, the government decided not to opt for that curfew on the 31st of December. The objective of authorities, and we heard yesterday from the Prime Minister and the Health Minister here in this country, is not to halt the spread of Omicron, but to slow it down. That is the most important and a key strategy in this fight is that vaccine pass. And that has many people up in arms here in this country, because transforming the health pass that we have been using for months now to access restaurants and cafes and movie theaters will effectively make life much harder for those people who chose not to get a jab.
Have hospitals been under strain, and has the medical community welcomed the news?
France has been registering an average of 70,000 new daily infections for the last week or so. There are more than 3,000 patients being treated in intensive care right now. So many doctors and nurses across the country saying that what the government is doing, or has done, at least in this new package of measures, is actually very little and maybe even too late. They had been asking, for example, for the government to impose harsher measures and to postpone the return to the classroom for students. They had been asking for the government to postpone, to extend the vacation so that they could deal with the influx of patients they are expecting to come and knock on their door after the holidays. The government decided not to do so, and many doctors are disappointed indeed. It really seems that the French government, the French administration, is at least for now trying to buy some time, trying to understand what the priorities are going to be over the next few weeks and months. Why? Because this is an electoral year here in France. The French will go to the polls to vote for a new president or to re-elect the current one. And there's a lot of political pressure on the administration of Emmanuel Macron. Whatever decisions are made at the government level often find a lot of criticism from political opponents. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this new round of measures plays out in that debate in the coming days.
Annelise Bourges, thank you very much for that update.